Hi class, welcome to English 243 online. I wanted to talk to you guys today about what we're going to do this week instead of your basic discussion board. I want to do something a little different, let you guys do a little research on Oscar Wilde and a little, just I guess some compare and analysis stuff with Dorian Gray as well. So this week, instead of your basic discussion board, I want you guys to do about a 300 to 400 word essay. It shouldn't be anything too intense, any more time than you would spend on what you've already been working on. So here's what I want you guys to look at. The famous quote is that art imitates life. But we have to think, does art imitate life, or does life imitate art? And Oscar Wilde is one who is quoted famously for saying, more often life imitates art than art imitates life. So what that means is, for example, in the 1800s in Europe, there was, well, more specifically in the British region, the British Isle, the author Goethe had a book, and it was about a young man named Werther, and they ended up having something across Europe called the Werther effect. And the Werther effect just referred to basically if, in the book, Werther was a young man, very stylish, very Victorian. The Victorian era is what we're looking at, so he was very Victorian. And the things that he did were very popular and created a Werther effect across Europe. Now, in the story, Werther ended up being someone who, well, basically he committed suicide because the woman he loved didn't necessarily love him as much as he wanted her to. And so a basic stream of copycat suicides went on throughout Europe. Very bad, obviously. Okay, so now the next thing we're looking at is in general life, how does life imitate art and vice versa? So when you look at Dorian Gray, he's fictional. He would be the art. And in just a year later, after Dorian Gray was put out, that's when Oscar Wilde was found to, he ended up in jail. And so what you have to look at is basically, is it that, was Dorian Gray first, or was Oscar Wilde living that lifestyle before, and Dorian Gray was a result of that lifestyle? Does art imitate life, or life imitate art? So that's what I want you guys to kind of look into. So here's how I'm going to guide it. The first thing, all right, the first step is for you guys to develop an opinion. Does art imitate life, or does life imitate art? Okay, develop your opinion, and then I want you to figure out if you agree with what I've said about Oscar Wilde and which side you take. So figure out which one you believe is more true. They're both true essentially, but which is more true? And so do that. The next step is to find one, two, maybe three examples in Oscar Wilde's book, The Picture of Dorian Gray, that link to Oscar Wilde's life, and which ones do you think came first? Was he writing about things he hoped would happen, or did things happen that he later on did? For example, he was found to be with a Lord gentleman later on when he was found guilty of homosexuality. And that's what happened in Dorian Gray, and if you don't catch it, there are a lot of homoerotic tendencies throughout the book, which all the men talking about how good looking Dorian is, I mean, that's a little strange if it wasn't homoerotic, okay? So the undertones are there, and I want you to look into that. The last step as far as any analysis goes is I want you guys to kind of look at something more modern day, and I want you to think about, did the basic concept go with us till today, or has it changed? So for example, when 9/11 happened, there was a mass taking of all sorts of things. Arnold Schwarzenegger had a movie that was taken out of the theaters. I know Dave Matthews had a song called When the World Ends that was taken off the radio, and people were very sensitive. But 10, 11 years later, we're looking at something like Olympus Has Fallen, and they're basically destroying the White House, and now that's kind of okay. So for you guys, you have to decide which is better, to be there for life imitating art or art imitating life? Which is more true? For me, I can say I don't see anything cathartic about my life being imitated in art. For example, if I don't like sad things, especially if it's about something sad that I've been through, I don't want to feel that kind of pain again. But some people relate to it and love it because they can kind of live through that again. So anyhow, take a stab at this. I'm going to open up Safe Assign this evening, and you guys can send this in. Also, if you didn't notice, this particular video was done on Mars, so I hope you appreciate it. I'll be back on the planet soon. Have a good week.